Of course, Goldman Sachs also cutting their 2022 forecast for China GDP as well.
Good morning indeed. Economists are now concerned that growth will in fact miss the consensus of 8.2, Heidi, but also they're now saying that in fact growth next year might slip below the 5% level, and now that would be the slowest growth in 3 decades when you strip out the 2020 year last year. And the reasons are, like you said at the start, you've got some structural issues going on, which is this big tackle on the big push to rein in debt and the deadly seriousness about reining in systemic risk. Then, of course, you have this broader push on inequality, which has triggered a crackdown on the hot growth sectors like education and technology and the like. And then, of course, more cyclically, we have this energy crunch and, of course, the virus outbreak that we just heard John talk about going on. So when you add it all up, it certainly does mean there's downside pressure on China's economy. It should be said, though, the growth for this year is still expected to come in and around or above the government's 6% growth target. And there are still plenty of economists who say to you that's a healthy growth rate for an economy of that size.
Sure, and it gives them some room to go ahead and plow forward with this while they have all these other problems. We had that very important GDP report, third quarter, from about 8% down to 5% year over year. And what are the big numbers this week we're watching?
Well, I think that the concern is still very front and centre on the real estate sector, Kathleen. Everybody's looking to see what does happen with Evergrande, how that debt workout plays out, and then by extension how that spills over to other property developers and the rest of the real estate sector. We're seeing new home prices fall now. We're seeing, in fact, overall sales are coming off the boil as well. So there are clear signs of softening the property sector. That's 25% of the economy right there. So I think front and centre is how that debt story plays out. Secondary to that will be, of course, what happens with the energy crunch. Again, that's critical for the manufacturing sector. There is a view out there that the authorities will ensure that the manufacturers can keep ticking over, but there's no doubt that that's going to cause another crunch in the global supply chain story. And thirdly, of course, most immediately is the ongoing COVID outbreak, and not just the number or scale of cases, but the disruption that causes. Again, we heard John talking about people won't be taking trips and won't be shopping and all the rest of it. That's what it comes down to when you're looking at the retail side or the consumer side of China's economic recovery. So I think in the near term there are certainly plenty of major headwinds to keep an eye on, and any developments in those 3 fronts over the coming days will be critical.